Peace and blessings. Welcome back to the channel once again. I'm Dr. Bobby Price, and today I'm going to share with you 5 of the most common but unfortunately unknown ways that people get infected with parasites. And the unfortunate thing is parasites are actually connected to many of the chronic illnesses that people struggle with. And it's the reason why when people go into their doctor and they have high blood pressure and they take medication, is then they change their diet and the blood pressure still stays high. It's the reason why the deficiencies stays deficient. It's the reason why the gut stays inflamed or the autoimmune condition continues to flare up. Okay, even the skin issues that people are having can all be traced back to parasites. So you're addressing the symptom, which is the high blood pressure or the skin issue or the gut issue, but you're not addressing the cause. And when you don't address the cause, you can't get healing. You can only get treatment. Hugely important to understand. Now, what I'm gonna do is go through these 5, again, most common, okay? There are many ways that people can get infected with parasites because parasites are very, very smart, okay? To the point where in many movies, when you're watching these movies about aliens, and often the aliens look like parasites and they get into the body and they take control of the body. Well, that's exactly what parasites do. And so I'm going to break down not only 5 of the most common ways, which 2, you're going to be absolutely surprised and stunned because people just never think about this. And this will help you address both, is it possible that I have a parasite? And then B, how to avoid them as well too. All right, so without any further ado, we're gonna get into these 5, but before I do, I just thought about this. I wanna give a big shout out to all the people who were in my last 30-day group detox. We did a detox from September 1st, that included my birthday, to September 30th, okay? So 30 days of detoxification, 30 days of eating supremely nutritious food, 30 days of healing, 30 days of changing how you think around health and healing, 30 days with me. Now I know for 30 days, it felt like I was literally reaching inside of your body and your kitchen and ripping out everything. But what I can say is I'm so proud of each and every one of you. We had about 1,300 people inside of the group detox. So I just want to give a big shout out to everybody who was a part of that group. We finished just a few days ago. I want to say I'm so proud of you. Please comment below if you were in the last 30-day group detox. It was an amazing group. Just tell us how you feel now, okay? Because we talk about how you feel when you walk in. Now I want you to go to the comments and talk about how you feel now that you walked out of that 30 days of self-love and self-healing. So I salute you. Without any further ado, let's get into these 5 common but unknown ways that people get infected with parasites. 1, often when people travel abroad, a few things that they don't consider, all right? And I had to learn this the hard way because I've lived abroad. I've lived in Japan for over 5 years. I've lived in Thailand. I've lived also in Malaysia. I've lived in Africa, several countries in Africa. I've lived in places in the Caribbean as well too. So being that I've traveled all around the world, there were a few things that I didn't take in consideration, and I would end up sick and I wouldn't know why. And one of the things that I never thought about until later in the game, after about 40 passport stamps, was the fact that I typically don't drink the tap water, but what you have to understand is you bathe in it, sometimes you cook with it. And what people don't understand is that it's not necessarily that the water there is harmful in general, it's just harmful for you because your gut bacteria is totally different from the gut bacteria of somebody in another country, okay? And that's the one thing I never considered. So it's not that I drink the tap water, but again, I never thought about things like when I would go out and get a salad, that they would wash off the salad with tap water, okay? And then I eat the salad, and I do believe at one point I got a parasitic infection as a result of that. So that's one way a lot of times that people get parasites, okay? Because they don't consider that difference between their country and another country, okay? So that's one. Number two, undercooked meat, or honestly, meat in general, okay? Now, let me say why I say meat in general. And all we got to do is go to the common sense corner for just a second, all right? At some point in all of our lives, we're going to cease to exist, okay? And this body is going to become ashes and turn to dust. But before it does, this body has to break down and decompose, like everything on this earth, including plant life or the soil itself, and it includes us. Everything living at some point will break down and decompose. And through that process of breaking down and decomposing, things are going there. It doesn't break down by itself. There are critters that come both from the outside and within that help us decompose. All right. So anything that turns from life to cease to exist will break down and decompose. And again, those critters will come from within and from without. All right. It does not matter. So when you eat meat, that does not excuse meat. So it just doesn't. All right. The same way if you saw, you put somebody in a box and you came back, you would see what happens. That's just the natural process of life. Okay. But also, it's really important to consider that a lot of the things we eat, it doesn't matter if you cook it. It is going to happen. A lot of people will say, well, you just have to cook it properly. Well, a lot of people like sushi. A lot of people like smoked salmon, okay? But it's also really important to consider the fact that pork, probably one of the biggest sort of sources of parasites when it comes to any type of meat. You have to understand, like, from a perspective of a pig does not have sweat glands, okay? So it is going to attract those type of critters when you have that type of toxicity inside of you. So pork is a big source of parasites when it comes to meat, but so is salmon as well too, and many other fish. Start to do your research and you will see this is true. And what people don't consider is that in many cases when you cook, the meat, the eggs are still there as well too. So it's just really important to consider this. This is a major point of infection when it comes to meat in general, okay? So hugely important. Oysters, all that kind of stuff, heavy with parasites, okay? So that's number two. Number three is contaminated water, okay? I kind of mentioned this one in number one, but I wanted to kind of do this specifically around contaminated water because the contaminated water is not only abroad, it's here too. A lot of the farms have runoff, and a lot of the livestock runoff runs down into where the vegetables are, okay? And a lot of times they get infected with water that is contaminated with fecal matter, okay? And that contamination can lead to parasites, okay? Also, it's really important to consider things that we don't think about. I'll give you an example. I just jumped in a river the other day and I'm swimming in that water. And guess what? In that river are parasites. It doesn't matter how clean the water is. There are parasites in there. As a matter of fact, that is why salmon get so infected with parasites. The parasites are actually in the river water, and they specifically infect the eggs of the salmon. When they lay them and then they hatch, they already have the parasites in them. All right, so this is why you can kind of do a Google and look at bears, parasite, or tapeworm, and you'll see these long 30-foot tapeworms hanging out the back of bears who eat salmon. All right, it's because the water itself had the parasite and it infected the egg that then became a salmon, and then the bear ate the salmon, and now the bear has the parasite. It's that life cycle, okay, going on and on and on. All right, so that's number three. Number four, and if you didn't like me with number two because of the mention of meat, you're probably definitely not gonna like me for number four, but it is what it is. Number four, pets, okay? Pets are bar none one of the biggest contaminations or infection sites when it comes to parasites. All right, here's why. I want you to think about this. Your cat, your dog, what have you, they're running around outside, drinking water in random places. Um, they're licking their butts and their private parts, okay? Now, when I say licking their butts, what I want you to think about is fecal matter. That is where parasites are, okay? And a lot of times when their butts are itchy, that's one of the clear signs often a itchy anus is parasites. Okay, so when you see your dog constantly or your cat constantly itching their butt or licking at their butt, it's probably due to a parasite. All right, the other thing that I want you to think about is that they're also out there playing with dead animals, which have parasites as well too. And then they come in a house where they have been outside, they walk through your home, okay, and then they sit on your couch, they lay on your bed, and you hold them, they lick you, and this is how you get the parasites, okay? So it's just really important to understand this perspective, and then this will lock it in for you, all right? Cats and dogs, if you go to a vet and say, what is one of the number one recommendations you recommend for cats and dogs? And unequivocally, they will say deworming, okay? A parasite cleanse, all right? And how often do they recommend it? Every 3 to 6 months, all right? How often do I recommend doing a detox? Every 3 to 4 months, all right? So no different, right? And then what I want you to think about, now this is going to blow your mind. What is the number one cause of death for cats and dogs? Okay, what's the number one cause of them perishing? All right, it's cancer. All right, now you may be saying, wait, what does cancer have to do with parasites? Okay, if you do a little bit of research, and you can't do it on Google because Google is not going to do it to you, give it to you. I started reading books from the early 1900s and the mid 1800s, and you look at what they were using to treat cancer, it was anti-parasitics, okay? They were fighting parasites to take care of cancer. And then I did a little bit of more research on current research today. And then what I want you to do is look up parasites associated with cancer. So it makes sense why your vet deworms your cat and your dog every 3 to 6 months. All right, hugely. Now, let me give you an example with cats, for instance. Cats often get this parasite called toxoplasmosis, okay? This particular parasite can infect your brain, and it can even control your behavior, okay? It can alter your dopamine and serotonin levels. Your serotonin is literally your happy molecule. That's what makes you feel happy, all right? When you don't have when you're deficient in serotonin, you will feel depressed, you will have anxiety, okay? A parasite can even lead to, this particular parasite, toxoplasmosis, it can even lead to schizophrenia as well too, all right? And that, again, goes from your cat, dog to you, all right? So that's really important. In pregnant women, this particular parasite can cross over the placenta into the baby and infect the baby, all right? What did I talk about? It can cause mental issues, okay? So mental disturbances and mental disorders, okay? This parasite can even make you more promiscuous as well too, all right? So it can totally alter your behavior. So if out of nowhere you start to be out of character, it could be because of a parasite, all right? So hugely important. So pets are a huge source of parasitic infections for a lot of people, because a lot of people especially keep their pets in home today, and a lot of people let their cats and dogs, lick on them, okay? And that's how you exchange, which leads me to number 5, and the last one, the one that many people don't think about, is unprotected sex. Most people don't think about how unprotected sex can lead to you giving somebody a parasitic infection. And the reason why they don't think about it like that is because that's the one thing that let's say if you had an issue, that's the one thing that unfortunately never gets tested for, okay? Some of the most common parasitic, what they call STIs, is Trichomonas vaginalis, okay? So that's, of course, with women. But it could be both in the semen, and it also can be in the vaginal fluids as well, too, all right? And what's also really important to include in that conversation, this is why it's so important that if you're going to do the detox because you potentially have a parasite, this is why it's also so important that your partner also do the detox as well too, because if they do it and you don't, then you're going to give them the parasitic infection because you still have the parasites, and vice versa. Okay, this is one of the points that I brought up to my group of detoxes. Like, hey, if you have a husband or a wife or a girlfriend or a boyfriend and you did the detox, but they didn't, it is unfortunate that you have done all this work. And then at the end, you're just going to end right back up with the parasites because they didn't do the parasite candida cleanse as well too. So those are the 5 most common but unknown ways that people just don't think about when it comes to getting parasitic infections. Now listen, if you're ready to get rid of parasites, not only rid of parasites, but heavy metals, yeast in the body, inflammation, that 10 to 25 pounds of bile waste sitting there rotting, fermenting in your gut, then what you could do is check out my website. Go check out either my 14-day, 28-day detox. You could do that solo, or you can sign up for my 30-day group detox that starts in January. Deadline to join, I do believe, is December 5th, okay? But you can get the show going right now. All right, so all my people who did the detox either before or did it in a group, I want to see you commenting below. Let me know that you are one of my detoxes. So hopefully you have enjoyed this information. Please share this with the people. We need to get this type of message out. And until the next time, peace and blessings and Godspeed.